Welcome to Wealthy Mind, where we talk about all things finances, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the surprising.
Welcome to Wealthy Mind. I am your host, Misty Rose Gold, International Success Coach, where we are helping entrepreneurs, leaders, founders, CEOs, you name it, anybody in the business space to create a wealthy mind and maintain a wealthy mind. So today I have Andrea Hall back with me. This is our second conversation, and I'm super excited for today. We're going to do something very practical. And yes, her hair is straight today. It was
I
curly
know.
before.
Just call me out.
We were the curly girls, and now your hair is straight. I'm like, oh.
But you were the yin to my yang, so that's how this is going to work today, right?
That's right. So, Dre, would you please remind the audience, what do you do and for whom?
Yes, I am an SBA lender in the commercial division for Midwest Regional Bank.
Yes. And you work in the creative spaces to get the loans done when they might not get done
I do.
otherwise.
I really, really do. We strive for that. We make sure that, we try to be that bank of looking at all the things that we can do to help that entrepreneur, whether it's for a startup, an expansion, asking just for equipment, commercial real estate, anything like that, that we can help their business grow.
Mm. Yeah, that's incredible. Such a valuable resource.
I try.
Yes. I'm so glad to have you in my network.
Me too.
Yay. So today, the very practical thing that I would like to share with the audience is your application process. And what are they going to need throughout that process?
Oh, it's quite a laundry list. I'm always prepping my borrowers because I get that phone call all the time of, okay, so how do we get the process started? Normally, I am that person that likes to get everything done up front. That way, we're not piecemealing everything, you know, day by day or even week by week. If we can get it
Mm,
all done at once so I can get a file started, it's less of a headache
mhm,
on the back end, not so much the front end because they're having to collect the application, tax returns for the business if it's existing, personal tax returns for the borrower guarantor, and then also having to start the life insurance process. Anything else to get documentation on the business, Secretary of the State, IRS EIN number, and being able to give us a detailed business plan as to what the business is about. Understanding, is it an existing business? Is it growing? And what is it going to do? And what is it going to take? And why do you need an SBA loan to be able to help? So
mhm,
that's part of that request in the business plan. And then also to make sure that the borrowers, the guarantors, they have good resumes, that they're actually a part of a business that they can manage on the day to day, even if
mhm,
they're not running that business, but they're owning it. And they need to have an understanding of, how does a restaurant operate? And you
mhm.
get some people out there that are thinking, oh, I can run a restaurant. And I mean, there are definitely some skills to have whenever you're doing something like that. So you just
Right.
want to make sure everybody is in line with that stuff.
Okay. Sounds good. So I'm sure this process is not fun.
No. And I so try to prep everybody. It's just like, okay, take a deep breath, understand that, these are all the documents that you're going to have. And I am I love the fact that I have a nice checklist for them to like go back to so they can see, okay, what were we talking about on the phone? What else am I missing? And I always love the fact that they're going to call me in like 10 minutes after I've already sent it. So, because they're overwhelmed with, oh my gosh, what are projections? Why do I need projections? And I will tell you, that is probably the hardest part for a lot of these businesses is getting projections together, even for an existing business, because they're trying to get an idea of, how is this going to play out going forward? And
Mm-hmm.
what is it going to look like on a month by month? How many people are going to come into my business once I have opened the doors, and I'm ready to operate?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's prepare everybody mentally. This process is going to suck. Accept it, embrace it.
Love it.
Yep. If we can
Put some good
mentally
music
prepare.
on.
Yes.
Exactly. Get a nice cup of coffee going. I mean, something that's going to give you that little jolt of energy, and understand, I will be there if you call and I will help you walk through the process.
Mm,
I actually enjoy doing that because I want to make sure people are understanding of the details that are actually needed. I have had so many applications where they have literally filled out the business name, the EIN number, and then they have put an ask for the loan. And it's a 4-page application that we have.
mm-hmm.
And I get those 4 items usually. So we're missing quite a bit of information. So it's kind of nice just to be like, hey, let's just go ahead, you know, bite that bullet and just make sure that you're getting all the details in. As much as I want to call you and talk to you and walk you through the process, it gets a little overwhelming
Mm-hmm.
on both sides as well, of going through it. So the more detail you can provide and all of the information, the better and the easier it's going to be for you going forward, because those documents, that package is starting the process for underwriting, our credit decisioning for our team, as well as the SBA. So all of that stuff is going to be used throughout the entire process and not just for the first 5 days of wherever we're at in our process. So doing that is going to literally get you to the finish line.
So I like that you're there for people to kind of hold their hand through this process because it's a scary process. You don't know what to expect. You may not have
Mhm.
all the answers.
No, I love it. Like I said, I'd rather be there to get it done correctly with them and to be that support for them, knowing that, hey, this is going to take some time. This is going to be something that we can't just get done overnight. And we want to make sure that the eligibility, for the business and for yourself and everything lines up before we get too deep into the process.
That's great. So just thinking about it from the customer side or the client side, what do you call your people?
I call them both. I call them customers. I have returning people and then I have clients, and then they're at a different scale. So they're just my people.
Okay. So for those of you who might entertain becoming one of Dre's people, I'm thinking about it from their perspective of how it just kind of eased my mind when you're like, hey, you can call me and I'll walk you through this process. And that is first and foremost. So we need to prepare mentally like this process is going to suck, but Dre is going to help
Mm-hmm.
it suck less because she's there to
Mm-hmm.
answer questions about things that you may not know. So let's start there and take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
And now let's
You
go
just take
through,
a breath.
yes, take a breath. Let's go through
Yeah,
your application and tell us what people are going to need from start to
absolutely.
finish. Can we do that in our time?
We can.
Okay.
We kind of hit some of that in the beginning of, like I said, getting the application completed. Just page 1 all the way to page 4. All of that information actually matters. What your ask is, where your company is, what you're trying to pursue, Is it for a business acquisition? Are you already currently a business looking for other means of growth for equipment needs or working capital or anything that's going to help you where you're going to the next level? Also, we do debt refi. So if you have a business debt that, I mean, right now, I mean, I think it's getting a little bit better out there with the rates. I'm not going to say that it is. I'm not going to say it's not. but, but I mean, there are certain people that have, you know, higher debt, higher rates out there that we're able to help pay off. And so those are conversations that we should be having up front
Okay.
of, you know, what does this look like? And is this something is going to be suitable for an SBA loan? Is this going to help me? Or is this something that I'm going to have to look for a different type of financing to get out of it? Because it has to come in to where our rate and our terms are better than the rate and the terms that they're currently paying.
Yep, understood.
So, yeah.
All right. So,
Yeah.
question. How much time does a person need to set aside for this, and how many chunks throughout the day, and like how many days, just so that they can prepare their calendar for this
A
process?
great question. That is awesome. Awesome question. I have some people that will leave it to their Saturdays because if they're working every day, 9 to 5, I don't know if you're really going to want to take on that full application because you're going to have to talk to your CPA. You're going to have to get your financials in line. You're going to have to do your personal financials as well as your business financials. And sometimes that can take time to, you know, get something back of, okay, we filed this. I need a copy. So that could take a minute or two, a couple days. I would say, depending, such a good question. Depending on where the business is at, if it's existing, I feel like it takes longer, right? Because you're having to collect more information. You're having to collect your profit and loss statements, your balance sheet, again, your taxes, rewriting your business plan if you have one, and collecting any documents that you filed with the state of Colorado as well as the IRS. And if you have any payoffs or anything that, you know, if we're going back to the debt conversation that you're wanting to pay off, that's going to take a minute to get that information collected. If you're doing equipment, then knowing and understanding the bill of sale, and if you have any receipts out there that, you know, you're thinking, hey, I already bought this, so is this something I could put towards my loan and or the down payment? Like I said, there's so many things out there. It's hard to put a timeline around it. I would say if
So
you
on
know your
average,
business well, I would say probably a good 2 days.
all right.
I'm just
So
going to say that.
for an existing business, a good solid 2 days.
I would say for an existing business, a solid 2 days. A startup, I feel like it's a little bit easier because, and don't scrutinize me, the startup people. When I say that, I could already see like the eye roll of, yeah, she thinks it's easy. No, it's just the fact that they are focusing on their business plan, their projections, and their personal information, and not having to collect any past documentation on an existing business.
Okay.
So I feel like you're shaving that one down a little bit more. So I'd say probably a day. If you're really committed, that's the hard part. If you're staying committed, then I would say a good day would be able to get it done. But
Okay.
if, you know, you're doing it periodically here and there, I mean, the time is yours to make it as short or long as you'd like.
What is the average time frame that you see with an existing business? So from the start of the conversation of, hey, I need this loan from you, to having all of the documents in hand and everything that you need to push that forward.
The quickest I have seen was 48 hours. The longest I have seen was 6 months.
Oh, geez. Yeah, don't be that person.
Exactly. And of course, I do my Friday follow up. So, you know, once you're are one of my people and I follow up with you every Friday to figure out, hey, where are we in the process? What can I do on my end to help you? What updates do you have that you can share with me so I can, keep that in line and we know exactly where we are within our checklist, and I can keep people at our back office up to date as to, what we're expecting going forward. So it's not just me being, hey, where are you? Where are you? It's more like, hey, how can I help, for one? And then two, how can we, let everybody else know what we're preparing for when we start going through the underwriting process.
Okay. Now, another question that's coming to me so clear. Do you end up acting as their therapist at times?
I mean, I don't have a license for it yet, but I'm working on it.
SBA therapy.
I mean, there is a couch in the office to where people can just, virtually lie their head down. No, there are times, yes, you hear about couples, because sometimes you have partners that are partnering together in business. And that's not for everyone, but
Right.
for the people that can do it, I applaud you.
Heck yeah.
That's what I'm saying, because, sorry, I'm about to lose my earbud here. But I applaud you to be able to do something like that. It's hard. But yeah, I mean, you have that, and then you have people that are, going through stuff. I unfortunately had a client whose mom is going through cancer treatments, and she's she's a startup, and so she's trying to get this loan done. She's trying to help her mom, she's trying to help her kids, she's trying to help her husband. I mean, she's the woman who is doing it all. And there's been conversations where you can tell that she's had a little bit more of a stressful day than usual. And you know what? Sometimes we'll just sit and talk about it. It's like, you're more than welcome to vent, because I know you have something else going on besides this damn loan package.
Yes.
So, and that's, and she does. And she's like, thank you for talking about it. I'm like, hey, that whatever you need. I was like, seriously, I mean, I want to make sure you're feeling heard wherever you need to feel heard, whether it is for your application. So that also helps us understand where borrowers are in their mindset when things
Sure.
stop. Because when we stop things, like, it raises an eyebrow on the back office, because they're like, why is this taking so slow? And then at least you have that response and not saying the words, I don't know. I hate responding with that. Oh my God. So I can at least text back or email them and say, hey, we have a client that's going through, such and such with their family or themselves. So, just everybody just take a break and we'll get back to our regular scheduled program whenever we can get that.
I think it's great that you take such a personal approach with people. And I was half joking but serious about like being an SBA therapist, because business isn't black and white, life isn't black and white. And when you're dealing with these things, a bunch of stuff can pop up. You can have issues that pop up in life that are just surprises, that are random, that come out of nowhere. Or you can be petrified about taking on a loan. So
Oh yeah.
if you're
I've had to talk
petrified,
people off that ledge.
you're going to drag your feet if you're petrified. That's what happens. Like, you want to talk about procrastination? What's underlying? Fear is underlying procrastination, usually some sort of fear. There are
Oh, there's
many,
something.
many different kinds of fear out there that can cause that. But, just thinking about it from a business owner's perspective, it can be a very scary process to take out a loan if you haven't done it before.
I've had a borrower not too long ago that I'd worked with for 4 months, just, feeling them out of, is this something that you're ready to do? Like, they already had a business, it's up and running, and they were just looking for their building. So they were like, oh, we really want to buy the space that we're operating out of. Cool, awesome. You guys don't have to move. This is perfect. What's the purchase price? What does the contract look like? And what is the payment now that you're paying in rent to this place versus what the loan payment is going to look like? So walking through them on what those payments are going to look like over those 25 years. I mean, at first they were a little like, oh, and I'm like, yes. I was like, it is a little oh. However, keep in mind, the rates when they adjust, whether it's good or bad, you're going to capture that. And I don't say good or bad, but high or low.
There you go.
There we go. I like that much better because they're good. It's just, yeah, high or low. But it's just, how are you going to afford that if it does change? Is this something that, and it's not me talking them out of it, it's the comfort of them going forward of
Mhm.
there could be a spike anytime.
Mhm.
It could go either way. So it's just understanding that. And, to your point and question, they did freeze up. They did. They were just like, I don't know if we can do this. I don't know if we're going to. So we actually had a heart to heart conversation in person, and they feel as though, you know what, we're going to wait till the summer. I'm like,
Mm.
perfect. Like, give yourself time. Don't jump into something unless, you know, there's just that need to it and you're completely
Right.
ready to go. If
Right.
you're not ready, don't do it.
I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, I want keep in mind too, when we close these loans, we still service them, right? Meaning we still want to make sure that our names do not pop up on the bad list of the bank of missed payments or no payment or anything like that. And so that
Right.
also matters to us that we do want to make sure that people are in the right space to being able to move forward. We can do as much on the back end to be able to help with the cash flow analysis. But some people that goes over their head because they're wanting more of a concrete visual versus what a spreadsheet's going to tell them. So that doesn't really always go as well as you would like for it to when you have those conversations.
hmm
So that's why it's just nice to talk about, is this the right opportunity for you right now? Is this the time for you? Or do you just want to take a minute and, think about that before you go too far in?
So that means, guys and gals, to assess your risk factor. And are you ready to take that leap? If everything lines up or in the loan goes through, are you ready to take that leap? Are you ready to take on the additional responsibility, the stress levels that can possibly come from that, and the fear around it? So this is a part of the application process, is really evaluating these things for yourself and your business, because at the end of the day, people run businesses. They're not run by robots yet. So, hey.
I'd like me to
Yeah.
slide that in there yet.
So we have to take into account ourselves and the weight that this is going to put on us, the bearing that it will have on us. And if you're used to getting loans or line of credits to operate your business, awesome, rock on with your bad self and go for it. It's not a big stressor for you. But if it is, really pay attention. Give yourself that permission, and you can talk through that with Dre and just be like, okay, here's my fear factor. Here's my stressors, and really talk about those things up front so it doesn't sabotage the process. Because at the end of the day, if you start the process and sabotage it, you're wasting your time and Dre's. And let's not do that. Time is precious, you guys.
Mm-mm. We don't get that back. No, no.
No, we do not. Yes.
But I agree, it is. The process, it is a lot to take up front. And it's just you want to be mentally prepared for everything that you're doing.
hmm
So that's why it's nice to be able to have that one-on-one time and to book that on my calendar with individual people to be able to talk things through. So
It's wonderful. Thank you for doing that for people, because this
yeah.
is it's a big thing. Taking
No,
on
I
a
like it.
loan, it's a big deal. So
Oh my gosh, right? I don't care
right?
if it's like 200,000 or 2 million. I mean, paying back money is paying back money. And you want to make sure that it's affordable and it's not disrupting your balance.
Yep, I agree with that. And I'm one of those
Mhm.
people that's like, take out a loan and pay payments, or just go figure it out and find more clients and make more money. Like, I'll take the latter.
Exactly. Be like, Jerry, I want to work with you, but just not want to work with you.
I'll just send you all my clients, girl. You're good.
I love
Uh,
Oh man,
So,
how I love
I
it.
mean, that's part of my assessment of my business at times. You know, everybody goes through ebbs and flows, and when you're up leveling, there can be a downturn in clients, and you kind of like, okay, do I have enough of a buffer? Do I have enough to keep this going? And, you know, there's all that financial assessment. We have to look at things honestly. And at times I'm like,
Key
do I
point, we
need?
have to look at things honestly. I love
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
because that is truth right there. Yes, you want to make
Yes.
sure you're seeing it right versus what you think that you're seeing or should be seeing or S.
Hmm.
No, I like that. Hmm.
Yeah. So those are times where I can experience a little bit of fear in my business. And when I do an up level, it's interesting because there's always this cycle of, okay, maybe a couple of clients have phased out and now I need a couple more to replace them, but also grow the client list at the same time. And in that in between space is where I can experience fear. And I want to make sure that I'm not making decisions off of fear that are fear-based
Hmm.
decisions, right? So those decisions usually don't work well long term.
No, and we get a lot of people that are, it's that unfortunate desperation factor, right?
Yes.
Because they've gotten caught up somewhere in something, um, and unfortunately, I mean, I can only do so much, to be able to help others on their path for their business, but don't always have a yes. I will say that there are times where there is just unfortunately a big fat no.
Mm,
Um, but you do have those people, and they're in heartbreaking decisions where they're just like, you know what? If I don't get a line of credit, I'm gonna lose my business.
right.
And you're just like, oh man. And then you're thinking to yourself too, you know, if I were to take something on like this, how big of a risk is it going to be for the bank?
Sure.
Because I mean, let's just be honest,
Yeah.
we're using the honesty of this, right? It's, is
Oh,
this the
yeah.
first time this has happened? Is this something that happens seasonally? And there's just times where you're like, I am unfortunately not the right fit for you. There are other lenders out there who can do that stuff. And
Hmm.
I know, I mean,
Yes, they
they're
can.
they're so great to be able to work with because they can get you out of that. But unfortunately for me and what I do, I can't do
Hmm.
those things. So
Yep. There are alternative lenders out there. So that's an
mhm.
option for that space. So this brings me to, I know we're going pretty deep, but we should, I mean, this is good. It's good for people to,
SBA is deep. Come on.
it is, girl, it's a deep subject. Why?
It
Because
keeps going.
we're dealing with the most sensitive topic on the planet next to sex, which is money.
Money and sex.
So let's go deep with it, pun intended, y'all. You're welcome. Um,
I love it.
right.
I
All
mean, if you're
right.
gonna do it.
Yes, 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 yes. So when you're evaluating taking on one of your people, one of your clients, what you guys think about the decisions that you're making that got you to this point?
Our
This is
decisions or
something
the borrower's decisions?
I'm talking to the audience.
Mm.
Think about the decisions you make that got you to this point of needing a loan. And this is where the desperation can be eliminated. If you look at your decisions, your business decisions, your personal decisions honestly, and look at past behaviors and decisions and everything that plays into that, and how did the business get to this point? And sometimes the business needs a loan just because it's a startup. Sometimes the business needs a line of credit because it's a construction industry and they're waiting for a payout from a client. Like those are normal circumstances that come up all the time. And I'm sure you see them all the time. So awesome, right? Maybe there isn't a flaw in the decision-making process, or maybe there isn't something that you could do better in that space. But if you find yourself in this space of desperation, is there something that you can do better? Is there some sort of process that you need to go through personally in order to make sure that you don't make those same decisions? So this is something I want to present to the audience because it's crucial to put the lens of truth on everything in business. Always, always, always. And that means looking at ourself and our decision process and everything and how are we handling the finances. Ooh, there's another truth bomb right there. So we're going to go even deeper, y'all. Aha.
Mm.
How are you handling your finances? Do you already have an existing business and you're worried that it's going to like go under because maybe you didn't have a business budget and you didn't follow a business budget. So you're not on top of your finances the way that you should be, right? So going real deep into that conversation, we could get lost in this, but
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to highlight some of the things that people really, really need to think about and look at and take ownership for. What role do I play in this, and what circumstances are external that are they are not in my control. So what's in my control and what's out of my control, and how can I do this better?
And I'm going to add to that is, today is today, but
Hmm.
what is your end game on your business? That would be my question for the audience. Meaning, are you looking to sell your business soon? Are you
Hmm.
looking at a 5-year plan? Are you happy and content where you are to where you're not really, having to really itemize all the stuff that you're looking to itemize to get the best out of your business when you do an acquisition? And that's
Hmm.
both if you're selling or if you're buying. So always keep that in mind too. It's, keep the numbers clean, keep the numbers detailed, because it definitely helps you with the lending process as well. We have less questions, which always makes it better. But if there's a ton of questions going on, about personal habits, business habits, that could be a little bit of a red flag on our end.
Sure. And I could see why if I were a bank and I saw a bunch of red, excuse me, edit that. Thank you, Trifon. My turn. Okay, we're back on. So I could see if I'm a lender that I would question putting out a bunch of money for, somebody that shows a bunch of red flags in their behavior and their choices. So just looking at it from the bank's perspective, I know a lot of people look at banks and they're just like, oh, it's a bank, like who cares? But there are people involved in the bank and people run the bank and they own the bank. So
Mm-hmm.
we need to look at it from their perspective too. Are you a high risk for the bank? So if you've got some major red flags, get your shit together first before you go for the loan so you're not raising all the red flags when you apply for the loan.
That's all I ask. Just get it together so we can get it done. That's really what I
Exactly.
ask of everyone. That's all that I need. Because yeah, there is some stuff out there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else you got?
Good. So projections, you talked about this word projections
Oh,
for the
projections.
application process. Yes. So
Everybody loves projections.
what are they?
So projections are, what do you plan to make? What is what are your assets? What are your liabilities? And what is your net? Meaning, what are you going to have at the end of all of this? Your first month, second month, all the way through 12 months and into your first year. We ask for a breakdown on a monthly, just so we can gauge what type of business is it? Is this a steady retail? Is this something that's going to have seasonality to it? Is it construction? Is it
Hmm.
something that's going to, have some hit and miss, but by the end of the year, it's all going to add up, because seasons, right? But we want to make sure it's going to be something that you, as the borrower, can find obtainable, that you can do. We always want people to be millionaires. Great. I love that idea. But unfortunately, there are some non-millionaires out there, and we want to make sure that your business, the first 3 years, are something that you can make. You can make sure that you're making, $200,000 a year the first year that you're in business.
Hmm.
Some people make less than that. We just
Hmm.
want to make sure when you're looking at, if there's contracts out there, that you're signing with people, or if you have products and services that you're selling, or, is it food? Is it the hospitality industry? Like, what is your industry? How do you plan on making money? And how do you plan on paying your bills? And how do you plan on staying in the black to where, you're not redlining yourself and not making any profit?
Right. Yep. And that's always the question. How do we make a business profitable if it's not profitable already? If it is profitable, how do we stay that way and then grow? So,
Absolutely.
yes, projections, really thinking about how do we make this work? So, in some industries, people don't think that there is a formula, so to speak,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
a rhythm, but there is. If you
Hmm.
pay attention, even in the coaching industry, there's a rhythm to it. There's when you start paying attention to it, so another truth lens, when you start paying attention to the cycles in your business, then you can start to project what's going to happen in the future. And then you can gauge, okay, how do we need to pivot? What do we need to do in order to make this work? Because
Absolutely.
my pipeline takes, you know, whatever, 2 to 4 months to replace a client. So making sure that if you're in a service industry like myself, that you keep your pipeline full. And your pipeline can become predictable as long as you're consistent with your output. And as long as you're consistent in making sure that your pipeline is active and all the things, right? So in the sales industry, which I'm partially in sales, it's it can be somewhat predictable. And that is, it's great to find that. It's great to find the predictability. So if you don't have that in your industry, if you don't have that in your business right now, look for it, find it. And that will really sink you into, oh, you know what? Okay, cool. I can see this a little bit clearer. And then if you go for the loan process, you have an easier time of defining what your projections are for Dre and the bank.
Hmm. Hmm. Not just
Yeah,
me.
right, right. Yes. So, yep.
But keep in mind too, I do give a worksheet. So I have a blank projection document for you that you can
Ooh,
just plug in. I know it's fancy. You can
nice.
just plug in and play with it and kind of get an idea. Because sometimes when you're talking numbers, I mean, some people just they don't see it. They don't see it until like what you're talking about, and there's a rhythm involved, and then
Hmm.
it becomes more of a visual of seeing that.
Hmm.
So it's kind of nice to be saying, okay, we're going to make X amount for revenue this year, but I have to pay rent, or I have to do this, or I have to do that. And then you can scroll down and then you can start seeing how those numbers are being affected from your top line to your bottom line.
Hmm.
So it's kind of nice to figure out to yourself, okay, well, if we're going to get to, a profit this month, we need to do X amount more volume, and this is how we're going to be able to do it. Whether
There you go.
maybe we have to hire somebody, or maybe, to your point, you need to make more calls, you need to do more sales, you need to get yourself out there,
Hmm.
and work on your marketing, advertising,
Right.
and follow through with it.
Yeah, it's so important to understand what that rhythm is and break down the numbers. So I need to have so many conversations with people per week to hit my numbers because I can close half of them or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just an example. That's not my numbers, but
Hey, example, that's what we're talking about,
yeah.
right? It's just having examples, having being able to talk things through. I mean, because that's what it is. It's literally getting an idea of how to get the business from start to finish, how to get the
Mm,
application process start to finish. And it's always really exciting, well, for me, and mostly for the borrowers too, when we do get through that application process and we get into underwriting, and it's this beautiful, well put together package, and then it goes to credit and everybody is happy with it, and it comes to the end where it's becoming real to them, like this is actually happening. It's
mm,
a, oh my gosh, we just got a loan to get our business up and running and moving. And I will say the coolest thing is always seeing signs out, like here in Denver, in other parts of Colorado, that they're established, they made it, they're
mm.
making payment, and they've got their business moving. It's like the best feeling ever. I love it. I do.
That's
I geek out
awesome.
on it.
I love. Yep, I absolutely love that. And I can tell that you're passionate about it and you're like, I had a hand in making their dreams come true or continuing their dream, right? If they're already living the dream. So I
Mhm.
love that. Well, I think this has been a very informative conversation and we went deep. Yes, yes, Sal, we went deep. So that's necessary. This is a financial conversation and you got to go there sometimes.
Mhm.
So, Dre is going to provide a link in the description of the episode. If you guys
I
want to
will.
check out the application, you can check it out in the link. Any closing words?
Just find me on LinkedIn, on the website of our bank, and then again, to Misty's point, I will have the SBA application to where you can click on that, look through the process, and then you can always reach out to me if you have any questions or if you're needing that conversation or a little bit of business therapy. Totally happy to help.
Sounds good. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you back on, and
Thanks for having me.
I'm sure we can have you back again in the future. It'll be great. So until
I'm
next
excited.
time, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Wealthy Mind podcast. Please be sure to download the Wealthy Mind app today and make sure to support your local Dress for Success.